very, very important conversations going on right now between Jaden Rashada's family and representatives of the University of Florida or the University of Florida or people around the program. We'll see, because his father has said he has not filed a request for a release from his national letter of intent, as it was rumored or maybe even reported at one point on Wednesday. Harlan Rashada telling 24/7 Sports Brandon Huffman he is still signed with Florida. He hasn't enrolled yet. He's currently in California. We're having a conversation with Florida, and that conversation's happening today. We're in constant talks with Florida. I'd like to think if he's not enrolled by Friday, there will be some challenges there to proceed as planned. The challenges include the fact that Florida has already started classes and that Friday is the last day for drop ad. So if he, while he's in the student directory, is not enrolled at Florida by the end of Friday, things could get a little bit complicated. Harlan Rashada says, we are working through some things right now with Florida and are hoping they get resolved soon. So I will revisit the question posed at the end of the last episode on Wednesday. Do you think that Jaden Rashada, the number 6 quarterback nationally in his class, the number 6 prospect from the state of California, and a top 30 player in the 2023 class, but I'll let you get first crack at this. Do you think Jaden Rashada is going to end up playing for the Florida Gators in 2023?
No, I'm about 24 hours later. I've flipped for this. I think that thing is not going to happen. So our Swamp 24/7 site, Jacob Rudner, we said yesterday, read his report. This has nothing to do with transcripts. It's entirely about an NIL grievance. And the Orlando Sentinel, Edgar Thompson, reported that it was over a $13 million NIL package that has collapsed. This is the natural consequence of teams not wanting to make players employees, and thus they still have market value, so you have to rely on third parties to do your pseudo payroll. This is not just the Gators, it's everybody out there. It's kind of an issue we have in this sport. If the schools and coaches want to keep all the money for themselves, yet the players still derive value, other people who have interest in the team winning will provide them with said value, but you lack control over those third parties if you're at the school sometimes. So that is a bit of an issue here. Okay, if you want a tea leaves read thing here, right? If you're Florida, how confident are you that all this went down in a clean manner?
Very.
Because remember, in the state of Florida, school employees are not supposed to have any involvement. I think a couple goals that I would have if I was the school, and a couple goals that I would have if I was Rashada. If I'm Rashada, I'm ticked. Right? Mm-hmm. Like, first of all, I don't know if I believe the $13 million thing. Like, it's the Orlando Sentinel. It's a reputable newspaper. That number does seem high based on figures that I trust that other players got. Like, if you told me $8 million or $9 million over 4 years, I could believe that. $13 million to me just intuitively does seem high. If I'm Rashada, like if he was my client, I'd want to get a little settlement out of this. If I'm Florida and I think the relationship is fractured, I probably want to come out of this with an NDA attached to that settlement. Let the kid hit back the open market. We don't oppose the waiver. The relationship's fractured. If it is indeed fractured, I don't think he's going to Florida at this point. Shout out to Brandon Huffman for actually getting the kid's dad on the horn and reporting accurately as opposed to just whatever that was last night. So waiver not officially applied for yet. I could buy that.
So, like, is this a situation where somebody was like, I will give this kid $13 million to leave Miami to come to Florida, and then that somebody was like, wait, I'm giving this kid how much? Why the hell am I giving this kid $13 million? There's no way in hell I'm paying a high schooler $13 million. I was drunk. I was out of my mind. I was crazy. And now that person is just like, nah. And now it's all falling apart. Is that what happened here?
I don't know. I mean, clearly, like, the kid wanted to go to Florida, and then now he's not enrolling in Florida. So we're trying to read tea leaves here. I'm just saying, I don't even know if he's not going to go to Florida. If I was repping the kid, I would try to get some settlement money out of it, right? And then hit the open market again. If I'm the school, I probably just want, assuming that I can't repair the relationship, I'd probably just want this to go away. And I'd want the story of how this all went down to not be told and not get sued.
So I'll give you an analogy that I had probably about 10, 15 years ago. A church I went to in South Florida had a big capital campaign, raising a bunch of money. I think they wanted to raise $100 million for a new building and stuff. And there was one person who gave 10 million bucks, and they brought him up in front of the whole congregation, like, "Hey, thank you." Woo.
But he pledged, right?
Right. Yeah. Pledged 10 million bucks. And then, 6 months goes by and they're getting ready to break ground. And all of a sudden you get word that the guy that was up there, he's like AWOL, nowhere to be found. And I think he was like a total fraud, didn't have any of the backing to do it. Ends up like the whole campaign falls apart. It's a mess. That's to Tom's point. Isn't this, Bud, I think you probably have been the most dialed into this Florida situation. Is he the only one that's revolved around the issues? Weren't there other issues with Florida's collective and how much the money was actually there? Because you'll get a lot of people pledge early, but then you don't have the cash on hand when you actually have to make the payment. And it's becoming, I don't want to say Ponzi scheme, but it kind of is. You're shuffling money around. And as you're waiting on money to come in, you need money going out that's not there. Is that accurate, or is that?
Well, I definitely don't want to call Florida's collective a Ponzi scheme.
No.
Right. Look, in any sort of endeavor where you're taking pledges, this is just all types of issues happen in all kind of fundraising. I don't know specifically with Florida. They did have one collective thing and then they have multiple. That's been the case at a lot of schools. It doesn't mean that they needed to bail out or something like that. I don't necessarily know. And look, maybe they just had disagreement over terms. This is one of the things is, it's not like information on this is public, and no party really has an interest in the full information being out right now. Right? Everybody wants to tell their side of the story.
I'd like to hear it.
Yeah. But spinning this forward though, if Rashada doesn't end up at Florida, this is reading tea leaves, and I don't like dragging any kid through this, so I'm going to put this on his parents more than anything. But he starts in Miami. For some reason he went to Miami. For some reason he changed his mind and went to Florida. For some reason he's changing his mind and now he might be going somewhere else. If you're a coach, do you want this kid knowing that somebody could come with a larger offer at any point and he seems willing to jump at it?
I have felt myself acting older as these stories have come out, where I'm like, he doesn't want it. He doesn't want it bad enough. He's all about me. Not going to be good in the locker. Just all of the stereotypes that I would have bristled at maybe even 5-10 years ago. And maybe it is getting even grayer than I am, but I'm just sitting there man, I don't know if it's worth it. It's college football. I think I just saw Stetson Bennett and Max Duggan play against each other in the national championship game. If you can maintain a better environment, I'm not going to use the capital C culture word, but if you can maintain a better environment and have a certain type of player, OKG, and our kind of guy, then maybe it's not worth it, especially at the 13 million price.
13 million is a lot of money.
It is. I would take it if somebody offered it to me.
Okay.
Don't you think it's more is there any chance there's a decimal point missing, 1.3 a year, or do you think 13 is legit?
1.3 is way low over 4. Well, excuse me. Wait, hold on.
A year.
1.3 a year would not be crazy to me. 13 a year is not I haven't seen 13 million a year reported anywhere. When I saw 13, when I read the 13 in the Orlando Sentinel,
it was a package.
That's what my head went to. 13 million. I think your best quarterbacks out there are probably getting between 1.75 and 3.25 per year. Okay. No quarterback out there is getting $13 million. To my knowledge, that's not even passed around in rumors. That's just no. So again, that's a great point, because if you have that question, I bet your audience does too. And we should have clarified it off the jump. My read of this, my intuition was, if 13 million is accurate, again, don't want to say the Orlando Sentinel is wrong because I don't know what the actual number is, that would be over 4 years.
With a fat signing bonus, right? With this much upfront, and maybe it's that upfront check that is tough to pull together right now.
If you're getting a $13 million deal out of high school, whether it's for 4 years or whatever the hell it is, do you still have to live in the dorms? Can you work it into the contract where it's I get to have an off-campus apartment right from the jump?
You probably have to. I don't know what Florida's rules are as far as living on campus, but you got enough money to like maintain a little side apartment if you want to.
Yeah, you could.
Yeah.
I mean, you could have multiple.
Yeah,
You could have a ski chalet in Colorado too if you want.
Buying
the
apartments and
univers-
renting them to my teammates.
Yeah,
Like,
the university has me in a dorm room that I
Yeah.
can stay
Which
at.
I own.
Right.
yeah. Just named after me, by the way. It's in Jaden Rashada Hall on the South Campus.
So yeah, Florida fans, like, this sounds like we're gonna have a resolution on this one way or the other by the end of the weekend. And functionally, you know, if he gets released, is there like a close on what does he have to wait until the next signing day?
If you're released, you could still go somewhere that as long as you can enroll, or you can enroll in the summer.
Right.
That's the thing. If you're not released, then it gets complicated. My guess here is that if he does not want to go to Florida, he will get released eventually. I don't think that they would want to continue to drag this out beyond where it has gone.
I got a crazy off the wall question.
Hit us.
Is he any good? Like, how does he stack up? Like, we're talking so much. I'm with Tom. I've seen 4-star, I've seen 5-star, and yet I've seen a lot of 4. Like, but is he any good? I guess I'll leave it with you.
Yeah, he's got a good stroke, good deep ball. He is one of the older kids in the class, so you know, like projecting on him, it's sort of a little bit of what you see is what you get. He's the number 7 quarterback in the class, I think, on a lot of places. Which, like, that's a good player, right? That's a guy that can help you. Certainly, a dude who you know, a lot of collectives would be willing to pay for, but he's not like, in my opinion, Arch Manning, Nico, you know, Trevor Lawrence level kid.
Jackson Arnold.
I would take Arnold over him. Yeah.
Yeah.
I just think it's more of a sure thing. So, yeah, he's a good player. Like, if he's back on the open market, teams will definitely still want him.